All right. Here we go. Here we go. Internet test number one. Direct Ethernet connection. Here's the attempt. We're making sure that the internet is working at my new apartment, that it can actually handle these live video streams. If you were tuning in last night, well, this new apartment that I have, I was using the Wi-Fi last night, and it would seem like it would work because I did a speed test beforehand, and it's got 100 meg download speed. It's got 50 meg upload speed. So I'm thinking this isn't going to be a problem at all. That's fast enough that you could be live streaming 4K, video at the very least, 1080p quality video. But unfortunately, last night, using the Wi-Fi, the wireless connection, I'm guessing it was a latency issue, some type of stability type of issue, who knows? But yeah, the video was incredibly choppy. It was buffering like crazy. I just had a lot of problems with the live stream last night. Was getting constant errors from YouTube, error, no data, problems. But now I'm using a solid Ethernet connection. So I'm directly connected into the wall jack, and I'm hoping that that will solve the problem. So here we are, we're doing an internet test, and we're going to see if that solves the problem. But of course, there's always something, right? There's always something because I'm right now sitting in the living room, and just off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of how many Ethernet ports there are in this apartment. I want to say there's at least five. There's basically one in every room. There's one in the living room, there's one in the dining room, one in the kitchen, and yeah, there's one in each bedroom. And I'm converting one of the bedrooms to my studio, my filming studio, my ministry office. And yeah, there's an Ethernet port in there. And wouldn't you know it, we got five Ethernet ports, five Ethernet jacks in this apartment, but only one of them actually works. And it happens to be the one in the living room, not the one in the office. It's like there's always something, of course. Always something. So I figured that before I went off and either purchased a 50-foot long Ethernet cable to connect the living room Ethernet port to the office area, or try to figure out some way to fix the Ethernet port in the office. That would be the preference, of course. I figured I would do just a internet test right here from the living room. And so far, it seems to be working perfectly. So far, I mean, I'm getting no error messages from YouTube. No problems on YouTube's end. I'm seeing an quote excellent connection from YouTube. I'm looking at my third-party streaming software, OBS, and they are providing me with an excellent connection as well. We've been doing a live stream now for 4 minutes. I don't think there's been a single drop in service, a single drop in connection. So as long as this continues, then well, this is going to be the solution. This is going to be fantastic. We have Brother Richard here from Florida. Quote, just logged in. Hello, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. Just doing an internet test. This is a direct Ethernet connection. And Brother Richard says, so far, so good. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the same message on my end, both from YouTube and from the third-party streaming software, OBS. Uh, Solid connection, no issues. I was thinking that I may have to change, service as far as, the service that's being provided. The apartment complex that I'm located at, they go through CenturyLink, and it's actually pretty funny. All you have to do is go to Google or Google Maps and do a search for CenturyLink in Logan, Utah, or Cache Valley, and they literally have 1 star of all of their reviews. 1 star. Like, we're 100% negative rating. Um, and yeah, the evidence for that was really proven last night using the wireless connection, the Wi-Fi, but using a direct Ethernet connection right into the wall jack. I think that we're doing pretty good here. Run speed test while streaming. I can do that. I go to speedtest.net. They're the website that I use for that. I did a speed test just before I started this stream, and it was 100 meg down as well as 50 meg up. So yeah, we're looking at solid connection as far as the speed test is concerned. Doing the download speed test right now. We're at 103, 104 right there, 103.35 for the download speed. Doing the upload speed, totally solid. 54.9, 54.8, pretty much solid connection at 54 meg upload speed. Yep, 54.01 for the upload speed. Yeah, that's really, really good, really solid connection. But yeah, Cache Valley, as far as CenturyLink is concerned, they give it a they give it a solid 1 star rating, and I'm guessing it's probably because of the Wi-Fi wireless connection. We were just having so many problems last night, but here we are using a direct Ethernet connection, and it's working great. 7 minutes and 20 seconds into this stream, and I don't think we've had a single problem as far as buffering, video dropping, audio issues, anything like that. So I'm thinking this just may be the solution we're looking for. But I want to be sure. I want to keep going for a little bit just to double and triple make sure that the internet is working good, and this is going to be the solution for the ministry. But if you happen to have tuned in a little bit later than in the first, say, 4 minutes of this live stream, I was I was explaining how there's always something, right? There's always something, and there are, I want to say, a total of 5 Ethernet ports, Ethernet jacks throughout the apartment, and I have tested every single one of them. Only one of them actually works, and it happens to be the Ethernet port here in the living room area. The Ethernet port in one of the bedrooms that I'm converting into my office slash ministry film studio, of course, that one doesn't work. You got 5 Ethernet ports in the apartment. Only one of them works, and it happens to be this one in the living room. So far as the streaming goes, it seems like this is the solution. This is solid connection, no buffering issues whatsoever. Um, just tell your life story. I just might have to do that, Brother Richard, just to keep it going. But yeah, I'm thinking what I'm going to need to do is either A, and this would be the preference, figure out how to solve the problem to get the Ethernet port in the office actually working. Or I suppose I could go and get a 50-foot long Ethernet cable, and whenever I need to do a live video stream, I'll just take that 50-foot long cable, plug it into my laptop, and run it all the way to the living room Ethernet port. And hey, if it works, it works. So I suppose worst case scenario, we can always do that. But yeah, here we are, 10 minutes into the live stream, and I don't think we've had a single issue, not a single problem. The connection remains completely stable. Excellent connection from YouTube, excellent connection from OBS, the third-party streaming software. So, yeah, looking great, looking really, really great. Just tell your life story. Well, I think just about all of you have heard the details of my life story. So, how about I tell you some specific stories? Let's actually tell you some specific stories. I got to think of, got to think of a good one, a fun story. Like this is a story from Jake's life, Jake's childhood. Okay, all right, I got a story for you. For those of you who don't already know, I've been a bit of an adrenaline junkie throughout my life. And uh, there's a lot of people who already are aware of this, but maybe some of you don't know. Years ago, I was actively training to compete on the show Ninja Warrior. I competed in 2008, 2009, as well as 2011. So I competed 3 times. And this was really before Ninja Warrior became American Ninja Warrior and really became a phenomenon in America as far as becoming really popular. I mean, today, American Ninja Warrior is pretty dang popular, and its popularity is only increasing more and more and more. But I was competing in Ninja Warrior. Basically, it was it's a obstacle course like competition show that started in Japan and it's still going on in Japan. That's its origin, but its popularity spread eventually, came over here to America, and now we have American Ninja Warrior. So doing a lot of crazy stuff. And when I was competing or doing my training for Ninja Warrior, I would do stupid things. Let's just call them stupid things. We can say what it is. They're stupid. They're the kind of things that I would never encourage anyone anywhere to do. But it was a point in my life where I I was in a great deal of spiritual darkness, to be perfectly honest. I had no, this is back in 2008, 2009, no interest in God, Jesus, the gospel. I just didn't, I wasn't pursuing it. Not that I ever denied the belief in God or the belief in Jesus. I absolutely, still had this belief, but it's like what James says in the second chapter of his epistle. It's, you believe that there's one God? Well, bravo, good for you. The demons also believe and tremble or shudder. Just because you believe, in God or Jesus doesn't really mean much. The demons also believe. Like the legion of demons that was in the man there on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, that legion of demonic spirits drove that man to fall before Jesus, to fall at the feet of Jesus. The legion of demons knew exactly who Jesus was, but obviously that doesn't mean anything. They didn't, that belief, that knowledge of who Jesus was didn't compel them in any way whatsoever to actually worship Jesus, to serve Jesus, to follow Jesus, to obey Jesus. So this was basically me back in '07, '08, '09, that those years. Just really, I believed in God, believed in Jesus, but it was more of that Gentile Greek belief. It's a mental exercise. It doesn't actually follow through with lifestyle. But yeah, some of the things that I would do were truly life and death kind of things. Uh, I would climb across on the underside of freeway overpasses. So you have those big I-beams, right? That are, that span a road. You got the freeway up top and you got this road that goes underneath. And yeah, I would just grab onto one of those I-beams and I would just climb across, like Spider-Man, just a little spider climbing on the underside of this overpass as cars are, driving beneath, going underneath me. I would do that with bridges. I would climb cable suspension bridges going up, to heights that were 50, 60 feet tall. And this is no safety equipment, right? This is why I say this is stupid. Like, if somebody wants to do this kind of stuff and you take safety precautions, like you have a harness and you're roped in so that if you slip, if you fall, if you make a mistake, you're going to be fine. You're going to be, locked in with a safety harness and rope. That's fine. You can do that kind of stuff all day long. But no, me, it's like safety equipment, forget that. I would just climb this stuff, no safety equipment whatsoever. But probably the number one thing that everyone saw and they thought was just so cool is that, again, with no safety equipment, I would climb up the outside of Rice Eccles Stadium, located in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, these are like the vertical I-beams going up the outside of the stadium, and then it gets to the top of the stadium where there's an I-beam coming out probably about at an upward 45, maybe 40-degree angle to get to the top where you have the fence, the guardrail, which if you climb over that fence, then you're in the stadium area, the seating area. And yeah, I would just grab that I-beam and just climb up the thing, just climb up it, you just rocket up it. I was able to get from the bottom of the I-beam to the top in about 13 seconds, and then I would just grab the I-beam going out over and climb out over, climb up to the top of the fence or the guardrail and just hop over. I mean, we're talking about this is total death. Like if I slipped and fell, death. It's like you're not coming back from that. Or if you did come back from it, you probably wouldn't want to because we're talking about a 70-foot drop to concrete. I would just do stupid stuff like that. This is just who I was. And I guess it's kind of to a degree, it's who I was even as a kid. I would go out and pursue those things that were crazy and dangerous and adrenaline, death-defying type of stuff. Um, One story that I can think of is how old was I? I was probably maybe 7 years old. I couldn't have been older than 8. I was either about 7 or 8 years old. I was living in the Sugar House area of Salt Lake Valley. Uh, there we go. No glitches yet, Brother Richard says. Okay, wonderful. Sounds like, everything's, going well. Here we are, 18 minutes and 30 seconds into the stream, and everything's, going great. So I was about 7 years old, and it was one winter. It was one winter. There was a hill, a very steep hill that was pretty close to the house. I mean, it was maybe just a block and a half away. And this hill, it had a flat top, went straight. It was dang steep. It would have to have been at least a solid, 45-degree angle. I mean, a very, very steep, decline. And then it leveled out at the bottom where it would maybe have a flat run for 50, 60 feet, and then it would go down into the ditch, into the river where the river ran through the area. And one winter, me with a bunch of older kids, these were my older brother's friends, and okay, let me tell you something about older brothers. Older brothers and their friends, when they get together, they love to make a younger brother suffer. I don't know what it is about older brothers, but that's just like what they want to see. If there's something that could potentially be fun or dangerous, yeah, fun, but it has, danger involved and, very likely pain involved. Well, the older brother's not going to be the one to try it. He's going to get his younger brother to try it. So, me, this little 7-year-old kid, we went out one day with my older brother and his friends, and we got to the top of this hill, and we're standing there at the edge of it, and there was this one actual like sled run because people had done this before, but how many people, who knows? And my older brother is, he's looking down this very steep decline, and his friends are there, and they go, "Hey, Jake, why don't you grab your sled and sled down this?" And of course, I'm like, "Okay, sounds like fun. Sounds okay, sounds great." So I grab my sled, get to the top of this hill, and there it is. And it's one of these, like, you get to the edge, and before you're going to do something stupid and dangerous and potentially, adrenaline type of fun, it doesn't look as scary as at the moment when you're about to literally do it. You before you're like, yeah, I could do that, no problem. But then you're sitting in the sled and you're up to the very edge and you're looking down this hill and you go, this is a lot scarier than it looked before. But there was no backing out because my older brother and his friends took the end of that sled and just kind of shoved me off the edge. And yeah, I rocketed down that hill so dang fast. It was terrifying. But the problem was we didn't go down to the bottom of the hill first to see what the bottom looked like. You can't really tell from the top because you look down and all you see is the white. You see white snow and ice, and you can't tell what the exact topography looks like. Well, turns out the hill went down, and before it actually leveled out, it had a little bit of a dip. It had a dip, and then it would come back up. So it had a ramp at the bottom of this thing. I'm rocketing down this hill, this little 7-year-old kid clinging for dear life in this sled. I get to the bottom, and it's only then that this ramp appears that I could actually see what was coming. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, yeah, went down, went through the bottom of that ditch, came up the ramp on the other side, and just launched off that thing. I probably I probably did like a double backflip because I honestly don't remember exactly what happened. Um, Minimum of one backflip because I very clearly remember the sky and the earth and everything rotating and spinning. But yeah, I probably did like two backflips. This little, you can just imagine this little 7-year-old boy probably looking like a rag doll just flying, through the air. And yeah, flew through the air, came crashing down, and landed. Yeah, I'm landing in snow, but it was pretty hard packed snow, so it hurt. It definitely hurt. But it's one of these things where you want to look cool in front of your older brother and his friends. So my older brother and his friends came. They went down, the actual, there's an actual shallow end. You can go down the other way to avoid the really steep hill. So they ran down the other side, came down to check on me. The wind was knocked out of me. I'm there just like, my older brother comes up, Jake, are you okay? Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, that was cool, guys. That was really cool. Yeah. Yep. That was a fun experience for sure. That was pretty fun. Oh, all right, man. Look at this. We are 25 minutes into this live stream and we have no problems. It looks like this has been an absolute solid connection. Excellent connection once again from YouTube. Excellent connection from OBS, third-party streaming software. Not a single drop in video or audio, unlike last night, which was just crazy. Last night the video was just error, error, no data, drop in service, buffering. It was just it was pretty nasty last night. So yeah, I'm getting thumbs up, from people in the live chat. Thank you for joining us for this internet test and these stories from Jake's life. Okay, I got one more story for you. One more story, and by the time this story ends, uh, I'm sure that this will be a very sufficient test for the internet, and then we can actually confirm, internet will be confirmed, it'll be good, and we'll be able to move forward with the video that I was intending to do last night. I'll schedule it um, maybe this evening, at the latest tomorrow evening, but I'm thinking it'll be this evening. One more story. This was when I was, I think, 16 years old. And ever since I was 13, I had a love for motorcycles. And I still have a love for motorcycles. Motorcycles are life. They're awesome. It's like I love motorcycles ever since I was 13. Here I am, 38, still love them, still ride them. Uh, but I try not to be as crazy as I used to be, right, on these motorcycles. Now, as a 13-year-old kid, we got we got a comment here. YeHoVaH, Yahweh, has kept me out of some pickles too. All glory to him. Amen. Yes. And this story about this motorcycle experience is a real testament to God and how he protected me and saved my life. This is a glory to Almighty God. He saved my life when I was 16 years old. I got on the first motorcycle that I ever got on when I was 13 was a Honda 350. And it was an older Honda. This is something like back in the 1978 type of, older Honda. It still ran fine, totally fine. And yeah, it had that thing really uh, had a good thunderous sound. Whenever you would drive this particular Honda through, say, like a tunnel or under an overpass, wow, the sound that this thing put out was just so good. It was just such a, beautiful, deep, bassy, guttural type of noise. It was fantastic. However, as a 13-year-old kid, just starting to learn how to ride a motorcycle, don't start on a 350. I mean, eh, good grief. I mean, I was this short, skinny, like this little stick-armed, stick-legged kid, like probably weighing 95, 100 pounds at most, and my dad, puts me on this Honda 350. I can't touch the ground on this thing. The thing weighs 4 times more than I do. Okay, if you're a parent and you're going to be teaching a child how to learn something for the first time, start them on something that actually fits them, their actual size and ability. And my dad, I love my dad, but he did this before to me as well. When I was really little and my dad wanted to teach me how to ski, I'm probably 6, 7 years old, and it's like, it's time to learn how to ski, Jake. Okay, let's do it. My dad put me in my mom's ski boots and gave me my mom's skis. That was one of the worst days of my life on those mountain slopes. First of all, it wasn't a sunny day. Like, you really want to go skiing when the sun is shining, it's clear skies, right after like a fresh, a storm, so you got the fresh powder. No, that day was horrendous. It was freezing cold, it was blizzarding, visibility was very, very poor. And there I was, the 7-year-old kid on the mountainside for the first time trying to learn how to ski, and I've got these adult length skis and these adult boots that were so heavy for a 7-year-old kid. And it's like, well, the boots don't really fit, but hey, if we put on like 4 or 5 pairs of socks, well, then we'll get them to fit in there. And then my dad is getting frustrated at me. Jake, why can't you figure this out? I don't know. Horrible day. Horrible. No, seriously, that day, and this is another story, but I won't go into details. But that day, I got so frustrated, I just refused. I'm like, I'm not going down these slopes again because I can't. I just keep falling and crashing and hurting, and I literally had like the snow guys, the safety patrol guys, bring up a snowmobile, put me on one of those, sleds behind a snowmobile, and they carted me down the mountain because I'm like, forget this, I'm not doing this. I eventually did learn how to ski, and I became a very good skier, and I love to ski. But it's the same type of thing. With motorcycles, I eventually learned how to ride motorcycles and have become exceptionally good at riding motorcycles. But if you're a parent, don't start your kid off on a 350. Start them off on a 50 or a 90 or a 120 something, but don't start them off on a 350. I crashed that 350 more times than I could count. I mean, I was constantly dumping it, falling off. It was horrendous. It took me a long time to figure out how to ride motorcycles, but I kept at it. It's a testament, to who I am. I fall off the horse, I get back on that horse. So I eventually learn how to ride this 350, and I get good at riding this 350. And then I turn, 14 years old, 15, 16 years old, still have the same motorcycle, that Honda 350. And I'm at this point where it's like I'm older, I'm bigger, taller, stronger, I can handle this bike no problem. And I had the experience, 3 years of, figuring this stupid heavy big bike out. I go out one time, 16 years old on this Honda 350, and I get maybe a block, 2 blocks away from the house, and I had this very clear, very distinct impression. Jake, go back to the house and put your helmet on. Because it's like a helmet. It's like what Tim Allen says, Tim the Tool Man Taylor on the old TV show Home Improvement. Real men don't need instructions. Real men don't need helmets, kind of thing. And I was like, go back and put my helmet on. Forget that. That's a waste of time, and the helmet is not fun. So I'm going to keep going. I got maybe another 2, 3 blocks from the home. And for the second time, this time much more insistent, this impression came. Jake, go back and put your helmet on. And it wasn't like my dad's voice in my head saying this. If it was my dad's voice, I'd probably ignore it. It was a distinct voice, but it was a still small voice that was insistent. Very clear and very insistent. Go back and put your helmet on now. Okay, fine, I'll do it. All right, turn the motorcycle around, go back to the house, threw the helmet on, tied it on. All right, helmet's on, I'm out of here. Get back on the bike, start it up, and I'm gone. This is when I was living in not Salt Lake, but southern Utah, in St. George, Utah. My family had moved to southern Utah when I was 12. So by this time, I'd lived in St. George for 4 years, very familiar with the area and very familiar with the good riding places, the good, dirt trails. And in St. George, there are dirt trails that just go on for miles. So I drive away from the home. I get maybe 2, 3 miles away. I get to one of these big open areas with hundreds of dirt trails. They just zigzag and crisscross everywhere as you are heading out south towards the Arizona border. I mean, again, you can get on any one of these dirt trails and follow it for dozens of miles out there into the Arizona desert. So I go out, I get into this one particular area with some crisscrossing, zigzagging, dirt trails, really fun stuff for a motorcycle. I mean, just you love this kind of stuff. I do anyway, still do. And I get in this area that it is a new area. Now, let me tell you something about motorcycle riding and following dirt trails in a area that you're not familiar with. Don't go very fast. Lesson number one, wear your helmet. Lesson number two, if it's an area you're not familiar with, don't go very fast. But being a 16-year-old kid, who cares about rules? At least I heeded that voice and I was wearing my helmet. I get in this brand new area. I'm not familiar with it, but I want to go riding and I want to have some fun. So open that throttle up and, put it up into fifth gear and let's go, at least fourth gear and, start flying along on these dirt trails. I got to this one area of the dirt trail that was long and flat. And it probably, well, at least from what I could see, it looked like it went on for at least a quarter of a mile. That's what it looked like. And I went, "Oh, this is a fantastic time." Yeah, I put it up at least into fourth gear, maybe even fifth, open the throttle all the way up, and I'm just rocketing down this dirt trail, unaware of exactly what the the future of this trail looked like. I couldn't see it from the back perspective that I was, but this trail, it went flat, but it had a dip in it. It went down into this dip, and then it came back up the other side and kept going on the same level plane as it was before. So it was shaped like this, right? This is how it was shaped. I'm back over here flying along the flat of it. I can't see the ditch. It's a really good metaphor, for the spiritual life, people who are in man-made religion. You can't see the ditch, can you? Yeah. But if you keep being a blind follower of blind leaders, you'll end up in that ditch either way. Doesn't matter if you didn't see it coming, you'll end up in it. I couldn't see the ditch coming, but I still ended up in it. Whew. Oh, and another, fantastic, spiritual analogy there. By the time you do see the ditch, it's too late. You're going into that ditch. So that's what happened. I'm flying along. I'm probably going, 50 some odd miles per hour on a dirt trail, which is fast on a dirt trail, 50, 55 even. By the time I saw the ditch, it's too late. Here's rule number 3 for riding motorcycles on dirt trails, on rocky, loose rock dirt trails. You can't use your front brake, or really you can't really clench that front brake, because what happens is your front tire locks. And if you're on asphalt, if you're on pavement, that's okay. Most of your stopping power, 75% of your motorcycle stopping power, is in the front brake, the front tire. If you're on asphalt, that's fine because it can slide on asphalt and the ground is solid, it's stable. But you can't do that on a dirt trail, because if your front tire locks on a dirt trail, you will slide out and you will hit the ground every time. You can basically only hit your back, brake, slam your back brake, which will slide out, but you can remain stable. as you're in your slide, but you only have 25% of your stopping power in your back tire. So I see the ditch. I'm going 50, 55 miles per hour. It's right there in front of me. Just appeared out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming, and there it was. I hit the back brake as hard as I can. The back tire locks up, starts sliding. Doesn't matter. I probably flew into that ditch going 45 miles per hour. Just, I mean, I didn't even touch the actual like decline. I just launched right into that ditch, flew into it, and I hit the bottom of the ditch right at the base of the incline going up the other side. So I hit basically right here. The shocks bottomed out, went down. As I'm going up the incline off the other side, I launched off that other side. 45 miles per hour at least. I just rocketed off that incline. I gripped those handlebars so tight because the earth went, whoa. I went up into the air, flying forward, and I'm just like hanging on for dear life. And what goes up needs to come down. I came down hard because I mean, what you want if you go flying off, ramps with a motorcycle is you want to hit an actual ramp on a decline, on a downward slope. That way you can actually have a nice, soft, landing and you can, roll it out and bring the bike to a stop. But no, that's not what I had. I launched off this ramp and what I landed on was a flat, the flat trail. Ooh, very hard landing. I mean, oh man, I'm glad I was 16 at the time because I don't think my spine could, take an impact like that today. It'd probably break my back. But I hit so hard that first of all, the shocks, bottomed out, and it hit so hard that the front fork and the rear shocks bent. They actually were, bent, this way as the bike probably hit the ground. Like the bottom engine of the bike, probably smacked the ground. And as it hit and it hit so hard, the bike jumped back up. It came down, hit, jumped back up, and the impact was so hard that I couldn't hang on. I lost my grip on the handlebars. The bike went this direction. I went flying off this direction, landed in the dirt, rolling through the dirt, and came to a stop lying on my back. And I'm lying there on my back. And I'm wearing the helmet, praise God. And the helmet had a face guard, there's one of these plastic, see-through guards. The whole thing was caked over in dust. I couldn't see a thing. And I'm just like lying on my back. Ugh, I'm okay. I'm okay. I reached up and got the thing, undid the helmet, pulled the helmet off. Ugh. Ah! I kind of turn around and on my hands and knees, find my stability, find my balance. I stand up on these wobbly legs. My hand, adrenaline is just pumping through my system like crazy. So, my hands are shaking just like crazy and my whole body is shaking. And I took a moment and kind of checked things and I'm okay. And I had a bloody nose. My nose was bleeding, but I look over and the bike is, over there, many, many feet away, and I'm looking around and I honestly started hooping and hollering. I'm like, that was so cool! Yeah! Just started like going crazy out there, just screaming. Uh, just It was horrendous. It was dangerous. It was like, it was the craziest thing. But afterwards, once it was done, I was fine, totally fine. A few scratches, no broken bones, and just a bloody nose, nothing like that. I was just hooping and hollering. But then we get to the message here as far as, what the Spirit, what God's voice had told me to do. Go back and put your helmet on. I pick up the helmet and I start examining the helmet, and across the back of the helmet was this deep gash, like big, long gash. That would have been that would have been the noggin. That would have been my skull. That probably would have been my brains, because I must have, in all the rolling, the impact and the rolling, I must have, hit a rock, or, hit several rocks with my head. Um, so the helmet, took the full impact. And I mean, obviously it was jarring to my head because, my nose was bleeding, but I was okay. I was fine because of the helmet. Hallelujah. Praise God. God saved my life that day. I went back to my motorcycle, picked it up, inspected it. Sure enough, I could see that the front fork was bent, and the back shocks were also bent. But the rest of the bike seemed fine, and I put the helmet on, started the bike back. It took several kicks. I had to really kick it several times. But yeah, got the bike started back up, and then more slowly drove drove the motorcycle back home. I get back to the house. I tell my dad, what had happened, and my dad, the first thing he wants to do is he wants to make sure I'm okay. He's checking me over. He's looking at me. He's like, "Okay, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, totally fine." Okay, well, let's go back and check that place out. And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So we get in the car, we drive back to that area, to the dirt trail. We find the exact location with the ditch, and my dad had brought a tape measure. My dad wanted to measure the distance. So we get to the top of the hill, to the top of the ramp, and he starts to measure right there, and he starts measuring it out from the top of the hill to where there was a clear impact point. And it ended up being 50 feet. That was a 50-foot jump that I did that day. Just launched off that thing. Probably, I have no idea how high I went, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if I, went vertically, 18 to 20 feet, because the earth really went far down. So it was probably, probably went up 20 feet and launched myself forward 50 feet. And that was one of the craziest, most nuts uh, experiences that I've ever had on a motorcycle. But also, it was one of the first times, if not the first time in my life, that I I gained a witness that God was real. That I gained a witness that God was not only real, but that He does watch us and He does protect us. Because He spoke to me that day, and God knew exactly what was going to happen. God knew what was going to happen. And God knew that I was going to be okay as long as I had my helmet. See, the message that I got from God that day was, "Jake, go back and don't go for a ride today." No. You see, any good parent will allow their children to make their own mistakes. A good parent does allow their children to make their own mistakes and learn from their mistakes. But you want to set boundaries, and you want to, offer instruction, Torah, guidelines so the mistakes they make are not going to be detrimental mistakes, the just life and death kind of mistakes. You want your child to learn and grow and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, but you want to also make sure that they're safe, that they're okay. God did not tell me, Jake, don't go riding today. Jake, stop riding motorcycles. Jake, don't do this. No. The message was, just go put your helmet on. I know exactly what's coming. I know exactly where you're going to go. I know exactly what's going to happen. Just put your helmet on. And I am here today because I listened to God all of those years ago. This was 22 years ago that happened. So 22 years ago, a young, stupid 16-year-old boy going out to have some fun, and there's no problem with that. No problem with, going out and having fun. But I listened to God that day, and because I listened to God, uh, very, very likely it saved my life, me listening to that voice. So there you go. Some fun, crazy stories from the life of Jake Hilton, which has given us more than enough time. Man, we are 51 minutes and 25 seconds into this live stream. Internet test. I said internet test number 1, but it looks like this is the only internet test that's actually required. Just having a direct Ethernet connection right into the wall jack seems to have solved the problem. Now the only problem is how to actually get the connection from the living room Ethernet port up to the office, because that's the problem. Because the Ethernet port in the office, of course, doesn't work. So I'm either going to need to fix that Ethernet port in the office, or I'm going to need to go get myself a nice long Ethernet cable. Either way, I think we have a solution. We have a great solution. Here we are, 52 minutes in. I haven't received a single problem from either YouTube or OBS. And I think that solves the problem. Let's get to some of these comments. Brother Marcus says, great to see you back on it. Yes, and I've got a video coming very soon. It was the video that I was intending to do last night. It's going to be it's a news update about what's been happening in my life recently, what's going to be happening in the near as well as distant foreseeable future. God willing, everything is in the hands of our Father, of course, as well as a ministry update is about what's been happening with the ministry and what the future looks like for the ministry. And great news, the future of the ministry is looking very bright. Bright future. It's a exciting times. Got some very good news to share with all of you, but that will have to be in this other video. Okay. Uh, Sister Haley says, Shalom. Can't stay, but I'm glad you're up and running. I'll catch up a little later with what's happening. Exactly. So this video was just kind of an internet test video, but also a fun opportunity just to share some life stories from the life of Jake Hilton. Hello, brother. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you very much for asking. Thank you. Da, da, da. You may need to test during peak use times also. Yeah, that. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Because I do want to make sure, and that's very, very good advice. Thank you, Brother Richard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a nice long Ethernet cable. I'm going to connect it to the living room port, and we're going to do a second internet test this evening. Say 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Well, 6 p.m. Mountain Time is when it'll be scheduled for. We'll do a second internet test. It'll be from the office / future film studio, ministry film studio, and it'll be using a nice long cable, and hopefully that will work. And 6 p.m. will be peak time. That's when, because I mean, right now, 1 p.m., not peak time, but 6 p.m., there's going to be a lot more people in the apartment complex using the internet. And yes, that's a very, very, very good advice. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a second internet test tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Maybe I can share some more fun stories from the life of Jake Hilton for you. And it'll be from the office using a nice long Ethernet cable. And well, that's what we're going to do. So tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Brother Richard says concerning motorcycles that if you can't pick it up, you shouldn't ride it. Yeah, and that was the case. When I was 13 years old, and he had this big old heavy, Honda 350 motorcycle. No, I could not pick the thing up. Um, I did. There is a way that you can pick up a motorcycle safely, sparing your back, using your legs, which yes, you can get a bike up, that's even much, much, much heavier than you are. Uh, but no, that's really sound advice that if it's a real beast of a bike that you can't pick up or you're having a really hard time picking up, yeah, you probably shouldn't be riding it. Brother Marcus says, my 9-year-old daughter has a 60cc. Yes, yes, that's a great size bike for a 9-year-old girl to be learning on. Yes, a 60cc, no geared bike called a Traca. I've just had the engine cleaned. A couple of the fuel valves were blocked, so it'll be quicker for her now. I can't wait to see her on it. Amen. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, 7-year-old kid, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. That's a great age for them to be learning how to ride a motorcycle. Just make sure they're wearing their helmet and yeah, give them actual long, make sure they're not driving it wearing shorts or something, long pants, uh, long sleeve shirt, jacket even, and a helmet and put them on a nice small bike. Yeah, put an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid on a 50 or 60cc. That's okay. That's a good size for a little kid. And for a 13-year-old, boy or girl, yeah, a good 100, 25, 150cc is, probably a good size. But you still don't want a kid to start riding at 13. That's not the age you want them to start. You really want them to start if motorcycles is something that you're doing in your family and you like motorcycles, then when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, that's when you really want them to start. Start them young and start them on a good small bike, and they will be just fine. They'll learn how to ride very, very well. Um, Good to see you. How is your back feeling? It's feeling good. In fact, well, I still got this I have a little pillow, behind my lower back to, give me just a little more of that lower back support. Without some solid lower back support, it definitely, still gives me some issues. But I would say 97, 98%, feeling very good. So thank you for asking. Thank you, brother. Uh, And Brother Marcus says, last comment, absolutely, brother. And she reads the children's Bible. It's great. Fantastic. Hallelujah. Thank you so very much for joining me for this 1 hour long internet speed test, internet live stream test using a direct Ethernet connection. It seems to have solved the problem, but we are going to have one more test just to make absolute sure at peak hours, 6 p.m. tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. It'll be in the office of my apartment, future film studio, future ministry studio. Oh, and I really got to say this. I'm bringing this back. Here, let's get to an image here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm I'm going to be converting that office area into an actual ministry studio. It may not look exactly like this. In fact, it very likely won't, but it will be similar to this. One very clear difference that I want to do is I want to take the logo for the ministry right here. This is the official logo of the ministry. And I want to get this image cut out, either in wood or even metal. Get it cut out in metal, maybe like a matte black. And then I will put this logo where the sword of YHVH, the sword of YeHoVaH, was in the past studio. But I still have that same sword, and I have every intention on bringing it back and using it. I think the main difference is that this logo, the official logo, is going to be up in that area of the studio, right? Basically where the hand is. So that's a very clear difference. But as far as bringing back that professional level studio, that's really what I want to do. And another thing that I want to do is I'm going to invest in a nice 1080p HD webcam and get that mounted on a tripod so that you can get that full studio perspective. But I don't want to do pre-recorded teachings. I really want to avoid that. I want to continue doing live stream teachings. There's a power and there's a spirit and there's a personality and there's a connection, a direct connection with all of you, my brothers and sisters, my spiritual family, when doing live video streams that you just do not have with pre-recorded teachings. So I'm going to be investing in a 1080p webcam. Like all of these are just done off my computer's camera, which is just 720p. It's good enough, but 1080p, that's where we want to be. And so I'm going to be doing live video streams from a webcam. It'll be set up on a tripod so that you can actually get that full studio image. I still have that desk. I still have everything, as far as like the Ten Commandments there, little Moses guy, those books, the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, the little sword. Oh, that's like the main, image right there. It's that right there, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. I've always loved, that in that little statue that I invested in all those years ago, and I still have it, bringing it back, and yeah. So over these next uh, couple of weeks, I'm going to be redoing the office into that film studio, and there should hopefully, hopefully, there should be enough room in the office that another wall of the office can be used for a green screen. So, film studio is coming back, really upping the professionalism of the ministry, getting back to real professional teachings, and also getting a green screen. And both of them are going to be in the same room. Basically, you're going to have one wall dedicated to that film studio, and then this wall over here is going to be the green screen. So big things are coming. Great things are coming, including one additional bit of information that I will be sharing in the near future. That's just awesome, just fantastic, fantastic, a fantastic opportunity that's on the horizon. It's coming, and it means big, big things for the future of the Sword of YeHoVaH Ministries. All right, shalom to you all. Thank you for joining me. And internet test number 2 this evening, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I'll be seeing all of you, some of you, however many at that time. I love you all so very much. And may YeHoVaH, our blessed Father, may He watch over you, may He protect you, may He bless you, may He keep you, just as He did for me all of those years ago when I was 16. I'll be seeing you all this evening, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Shalom.